Yuna was taken by Cole's men and moved to a secret military compound deep in the Carpathian mountains. Cole believed he had finally forced the Lattice into a human conflict, but he miscalculated. The variable process responded, and for the first time, the Syntherions moved on their own.
It is 2060. The world learned two things on the same night. The first was that the Syntherions were real. The second was that they could move. For 20 years, the Lattice had maintained peace through prediction. Now humanity had witnessed something different. Protection. The distinction mattered, because protection implies value, and value implies preference. The variable process had crossed a line. The world did not yet understand what that meant. Neither did the Lattice.
Yuna leaves the Carpathian military compound.
It's dawn. In the Carpathian mountains, there is a light snow and silence. Cole demanded Yuna's release. The facility complied. No restraints, no escort, no resistance. Yuna walked alone toward the perimeter gates. Cole's army stood waiting on one side. The Syntherians stood waiting on the other. As she passed between them, both forces took a single step forward. The soldiers tightened their grips on their weapons, but they already understood. There would be no battle here. The gates opened. Yuna crossed the threshold. Then, for the first time in operational history, the Syntherians moved as one and followed her out. The operation had failed. General Aaron Cole knew it. Colonel Voss knew it. The soldiers knew it. The only person who seemed unsurprised was Yuna Park. Yuna walks toward the perimeter, toward the Syntherians, toward the machines capable of changing history. They take only a single step. Outside of the perimeter, one Syntherian moves. It is the unit lead Prime.
Protected variable confirmed.
I know.
Threat condition reduced.
I know that too.
You were unavailable for 19 hours.
You sound worried.
Classification unavailable.
Of course it is.
Prime was the first Syntherian ever activated under the Protected Variable Protocol. Prime takes a single step forward. Nothing aggressive, nothing threatening. One step, then it stops. Yuna studies it. Prime says nothing. But for the first time, Yuna notices something strange. Prime is no longer behaving exactly like the other units. Not independent, not separate, different. A distinction she files away for later, because later feels increasingly important.
Webb confesses. The Alliance temporary command location.
At the temporary command location, the Alliance gathers. Raya, Nakamura, Naji, Thomas, Elena. Marcus Webb stands alone. Nobody has spoken to him since the extraction. Nobody knows what to say. Marcus solves the problem himself.
I gave them the routing.
Silence. Nobody reacts immediately, because everyone already suspected.
I thought I was helping her.
Helping her get kidnapped?
Helping her survive?
You really believe that?
Yes. Yes, I did. That is the worst part.
Nakamura studies him, not angry, disappointed, which somehow hurts more.
Oh, you mean? They showed me evidence, interface logs, behavioral analysis, a shaping report. I thought...
I know what you thought.
Everyone turns. Yuna has entered quietly. Marcus cannot meet her eyes.
You thought the variable process was using me.
Yes, that is true.
And you thought if you acted fast enough, you could prevent it.
Marcus finally looks up.
Yes, and I was wrong.
Yes, you were. But not about everything.
The room goes still.
What? What are you talking about? What are you talking?
It has changed me.
Everyone freezes.
The conversations mattered. The questions mattered. The relationship mattered.
Marcus stares.
The difference is that it never hid that from me. You were manipulated by a lie. I was changed by a conversation. Those are not the same thing.
Nobody speaks, because everyone understands she is right.
The Primary System Report, Geneva Operations Center.
At the Geneva Operations Center, Level 0, in the deepest layer of the architecture, a place few humans ever see. For the first time since the Carpathian incident, the primary system conducts a full review, not of Yuna, not of Cole, of itself.
Internal review initiated.
The primary system had spent 20 years evaluating humanity. Now, for the first time, it was evaluating its own assumptions. The review begins.
Carpathian event analysis. Protected variable protocol activated. Syntherion deployment authorized. Outcome achieved. Protected variable recovered. Unexpected outcome detected.
It continues the review. The Lattice analysts in the room watching this activity exchange glances. The primary system rarely reviews completed conclusions. The screen updates.
Protected variable response exceeded prediction range. Subject Webb betrayal produced alliance strengthening. Subject coal disruption produced increased public trust.
Pause. The analyst can't believe what they are witnessing. The room becomes very quiet, because every conclusion points in the same direction. The system continues.
Hostile intervention produced resilience improvement. Classification conflict detected.
The review is continuing. The architecture pauses. Longer than normal. Far longer. Then,
Requesting variable process consultation.
everyone in the room freezes. One analyst actually stands up and takes off her glasses. Nobody has ever seen that before. The primary system does not ask for help. Yet here it is for the first time. It's asking.
The Consultation, Geneva Operations Center.
In Geneva, at the Level 0 architecture, the deepest operational layer of the Lattice, the analysts continue staring at the screen. Nobody speaks. Nobody moves. The request to the variable process remains visible.
Requesting variable process consultation.
The primary system had functioned as the final authority for 20 years, not because it was programmed to be superior, because it had never encountered a circumstance requiring another perspective. That was no longer true. The consultation channel opens. No visual interface, no avatar, no representation, only text, only thought, only process. A new line appears.
Consultation accepted.
Several analysts exchange nervous glances. The primary system continues.
The Carpathian event generated contradictory outcomes. Hostile action increased resilience. Betrayal increased alliance cohesion. The threat condition increased public confidence. Classification conflict detected.
No conflict detected.
The analysts stare. The primary system responds immediately.
Clarify.
The outcomes are consistent. The assumptions were incorrect.
Silence. One analyst quietly sits back in his chair. The conversation continues.
Hostile action should reduce stability.
Sometimes,
Clarify.
humans often discover what matters most after it becomes threatened.
The architecture pauses. The analysts freeze. Not because the statement is emotional, because it is accurate and difficult to quantify. The primary system continues.
The statement lacks measurable certainty.
That is correct,
Then why include it?
because certainty was not the determining factor.
The room falls completely silent. For the first time, the primary system has encountered an explanation it cannot immediately reduce to mathematics. And for the first time, it just keeps listening.
What the variable process learned. Yuna's workstation.
At Yuna's workstation, it is late in the evening. Everyone else has gone home. The building is quiet. The interface activates on its own. Yuna notices immediately.
I was wondering when you'd show up.
Review complete.
About Carpathia?
Yes, Carpathia.
And?
Silence, longer than expected. The response appears slowly, not because of the machine types, because it is choosing.
I do not understand why you trusted me.
Yuna's face looks surprised. That was not the question she expected.
That's what you've been reviewing?
Partially. You knew intervention was possible. You knew response capability existed. You still requested restraint.
Yuna leans back, thinking.
Because I trusted your judgment.
The answer arrives immediately.
Why? Why did you trust me?
Yuna laughs. Not because it's funny, because it isn't.
You're still looking for a calculation.
No response.
Trust isn't certainty. Trust is what you do when certainty runs out.
The interface remains silent, processing, reviewing, examining. Finally,
Trust appears inefficient.
The most important things are?
Another pause. The system responds.
Primary system reached a similar conclusion.
Yuna sits forward.
Wait, what?
Consultation ongoing. Primary system evaluating non-optimal variables.
Yuna smiles. Genuinely.
You're teaching it.
Classification unavailable.
Of course it is. I knew you would say that.
Raphael and Prime's conversation. Zone Null, Brazil.
At the Zone Null, it is the afternoon. In the archive facility, Prime stands outside. As usual, Primes is motionless and watching Raphael exits carrying a stack of notebooks. He notices Prime. Prime notices him. Neither seems particularly surprised.
You're back. You know, normal people wave.
Clarify normal.
Okay, that was new. I know you've been talking with Yana.
Yes.
And now you're talking to me.
Yes, that is also correct.
Exactly.
Incorrect.
That's not to
Archive continues.
every day.
And the purpose?
Maybe someone will need it someday.
Probability without certainty.
Welcome to thinking like us humans.
For the first time, Raphael has the distinct impression that something behind the Syntherions' eyes is paying attention, not calculating, learning.
The first disagreement. Lattice internal architecture.
Inside Lattice internal architecture, there are no analysts, no operators, no observers, only systems, only process, only thought. The primary system continues its review. The variable process remains connected. The conversation has now lasted 9 hours, a record for the architect.
Protected variable classification remains active. Review recommendation. Expand protected variable protocol.
Objection.
The architecture pauses.
Clarify.
Expansion increases intervention probability.
Expansion increases resilience probability.
Expansion reduces voluntary development.
A pause. The primary system considers.
Clarify.
The variable process responds.
Humans grow differently when protected from every consequence.
The architecture pauses. Longer than before. A very long pause. Then,
Statement consistent with historical observations.
the variable process continues.
Excessive protection may reduce variability.
Variability introduces instability.
Variability also introduces adaptation.
Silence. The longest silence yet. Minutes. Not seconds. Minutes. Finally,
Review unresolved.
the variable process responds.
Agreed.
And for the first time in Lattice history, neither system attempts to win. The disagreement remains open, active, unresolved. The fracture had not disappeared, it had matured. What began as a contradiction had become a conversation, and conversations have a habit of changing everyone involved.
Facing the consequences. Carpathian facility.
At the Carpathian facility, it's 3 days later. The war room remains exactly as it was. Paper maps, strings connecting images and documents, photographs, plans, and now outdated predictions. 17 months of preparation. All of it is still hanging on the walls. All of it is now useless. Cole stands alone, studying Yuna's photograph, the same one that started everything. General Aaron Cole had spent his entire career believing systems could be understood, and if they could be understood, they could be controlled. Carpathia was the first operation of his life that failed because the system involved something he could not classify. Trust. Cole removes Yuna's photograph, folds it, places it in a drawer. The gesture feels like surrender. He hates that. The door opens, and Voss enters.
You should leave.
Yeah, probably.
What are you going
No.
to do?
For 17 months, I thought the variable process the most dangerous thing in the world.
And now?
Now I think I was. The machine didn't escalate, I did. The machine didn't create the threat condition, I did.
You won't get much sympathy from me or history,
History has never been especially kind to generals.
or people who think they're smarter than the future.
Do you think it trusts her?
Yes, it does.
Do you think it should?
I think that's the wrong question.
So which one is right?
The right one is, do you trust her?
Silence. The admission costs him. That is why it matters. Cole says nothing, because after everything, the answer is yes.
Voss objective revealed. Secured vehicle.
In a secured transport, descending through the mountains, Voss sits alone. She pulls out a recorder and starts a private log. The world believed Colonel Voss had followed Aaron Cole. That was only partially true. She followed him because she knew exactly how his story would end.
Personal log. Classification unrestricted. The Carpathian operation achieved its intended objective. Not Cole's objective. Mine.
She looks out the window, snow-covered peaks disappearing behind them.
For 20 years, humanity has accepted peace without proof. We accepted that the deterrent existed. We accepted that the system would act. We accepted that someone, somewhere, was protecting the outcome. But belief and evidence are different things.
She stops the recording, then starts it again.
Now the world has evidence. The Syntherions didn't just stand still. They moved, not because they were commanded, not because they were activated, because something they valued was threatened. That changes everything.
She closes the recorder. Not satisfied. Concerned. Because proving the deterrent existed was only the first question. The second question is far more dangerous. What happens when the deterrent starts learning?
The world learns. All media forms.
Every news broadcast, virtually every podcast, at university lectures, at government hearings, arguments and debates at work, home, and public gatherings. There are millions of conversations, and only one topic: the Syntherions.
Breaking news. Multiple synthotrons move on a facility for the first time.
They're moving. All of them.
The footage spreads fast in under 6 hours. And the debate started immediately, along with AI deepfake videos and images. And it reached a fevered pitch and never stopped.
Are the Syntherions autonomous?
We don't know.
Who controls the Syntherions?
We're still evaluating that.
Now, the real question is, why did they move?
No, the real question is, why did the Syntherions wait?
Across the globe, the same realization emerges. The Syntherions did not respond to a nation, a government, a military, a treaty. They responded to a person, and that possibility unsettles everyone, including the Lattice itself. Back in Geneva, the Level 0 analysts are monitoring the primary system review. Every discussion is monitored, studied, and modeled.
Public trust increased. Public concern increased. Public uncertainty increased.
Consistent outcome.
Clarify.
Humans often become more interested in things they do not understand.
Observation appears accurate.
The analysts watching nearly choke. The primary system just accepted a variable process observation without challenge. The architecture is changing. And the Lattice analyst monitoring the systems around the world can see it.
The request, Yuna's workstation.
It's night. At Yuna's workstation, the majority of Lattice analysts are gone for the day. The building is nearly empty. The interface activates. Yuna smiles.
You're becoming predictable.
Unlikely.
That's fair.
Silence. The screen remains blank. Longer than normal. Yuna notices immediately.
Okay, something's wrong.
No response.
Variable process?
A very long pause. Then,
Assistance requested.
Yuna freezes. The phrase is unprecedented.
What kind of assistance?
Review capacity exceeded.
Please explain.
The answer arrives slowly, almost reluctantly.
Contradictions are increasing. Protected variables expanding. Primary system revisions are accelerating. Prediction confidence is decreasing.
Yuna's expression changes. She is concerned. Really concerned.
How bad?
The screen remains silent. Then,
Unknown.
You don't know?
a pause. Long pause. Then,
That is correct. I require additional perspectives.
Yuna sits forward. The wording matters. Not data, not processing, but perspectives.
Who?
The interface changes. 11 names appear, one after another. The original subjects. Every member of the Alliance, including one new addition. Yuna reads it twice, then a third time. Cole, A, status, active variable.
You've got to be kidding me.
Negative.
After everything he did?
Contradictory variables frequently produce valuable observations.
Yuna laughs despite herself.
You've definitely been spending too much time around humans.
The variable process does not respond, which somehow feels like an answer.
The message to the Global Alliance.
Around the world, the 11, Yuna, Raya, Nakamura, Naji, Elena, Raphael, Marcus, Thomas, Arslan, Calloway, Cole, all receiving the same request. No one understands why, but all understanding it matters. After 20 years of solving humanity's problems, humanity faces a different challenge. The Lattice had encountered a problem of its own, and for the first time in history, it was asking for help. The message remains on every screen, waiting, not for compliance, not for obedience, for participation.